Hello, hello, and welcome, or should I say ho, 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 Christmas cousins. I'm Cousin Chad.
And I'm Cousin Seth.
And we have with us Cousin Bob, the technological master himself. Cousin Bob, everyone. This is a very heartwarming, nostalgic episode. But before I get into that, I just want to say we've been on air with Bob for about 30, 40 minutes, just trying to get his video and audio working. Ladies and gentlemen, he has a brand new studio, but forgot to do both audio and video. So this is really.
It looks. I got echo.
You have to hit mute on the other one.
I know.
This is great. Or leave it. This is great. Everything you say is so important. We'll hear it twice, Bob. I think if you mute the computer with the video,
is that working?
No, I mean, it's working well for me.
It's an interesting effect, but probably after about 30 seconds, it's going to wear on everybody.
This is what we've been doing. So let me give Bob an intro while he's working that out. So if you know Bob, he's the host, which you wouldn't believe he's a podcast host.
I know.
He works with technology, but he's the host of the Festive Freshman Film Fan. So today we are continuing our series of my favorite Christmas ever. This is number 4, where we're going to dive into holiday nostalgia as best we can if Bob's internet holds up. With Cousin Bob, our special guest. As I said, he's the host of the Festive Freshman Film Fans, or the 4F, as the cool kids are calling it. And he's going to take us on a heartwarming journey through his all-time favorite Christmas. So we're going to get into the magical setting, the cherished family traditions, any unexpected prizes, memorable gifts, and he's going to paint a vivid picture of what made that particular holiday stand out, relive his special day, explore holiday traditions, and even maybe a few life lessons along the way, because Bob always teaches us something. And he's also going to have some advice for our festive freshman / seasonal sophomore cousin Seth. So this is going to be an unforgettable episode. Already it has been, and we've only been on air for a couple of minutes, Bob. So welcome.
And, you know, I thought I wasn't going to be on. I thought I wasn't going to be on camera, and I was dancing to your theme song in my in my Christmas boxers here. And I'm sorry.
Yeah. Ratings will be through the roof when we put this on YouTube, so I cannot wait. But
only
your
if
audio
you guys
sound...
join me.
That's right. So anyway, I'm very excited for this. Now, Bob, you said you were listening to one of our recent episodes before we get into it, and you had some thoughts from the recent episode. Do you want to fill us in?
Yeah, because I was thinking that, you had asked for, you and Seth had listed your 5 favorite things that you're looking forward to in the holiday. Yes. And you were asking for everyone else to submit them. And I thought, well, heck, I'm going to be on the air with them, so I can just tell them live. So yes. And they immediately quickly jumped to mind. In fact, I probably could have had 10, but I picked, these are my most favorite ones. So number 5, it's Bob and Seth skating in Millennial Park. We got hot chocolate, holding hands. We got the whole thing.
Okay.
For that.
Number 4,
Millennial Park, Bob and Seth. Love that. Okay.
Yeah. So number 4 is Bob and Seth drinking glühwein at the Chris Kindle Market.
Yes. 2 great ideas.
And just like our pumpkin beers, we're going to be down in that glühwein like it's.
Nice. Do you go to the Chris Kindle Market? Is that something you go to every year?
I do. In fact, my office is like a block away, so I go usually at lunchtime and walk around, and they have the best Krampus stuff. It's awesome.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. So Seth?
We just learned recently that there's one in Aurora that's pretty good as well.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Both of them.
Well, and I was really going to say we could have a snowball fight on Wrigley Field, but I don't think they're having the one on Wrigley Field this year. I don't think they are.
I can make some calls.
Yeah. Good.
I mean, I can't control the weather, but I can.
Can you rent the park for us?
That's a little more doable.
Yeah, Seth could certainly do that. Seth, did you just have a little breaking news flash right there? Did you say you cannot control the weather? Is this something you're declaring on air right now, Seth?
Yeah, I can't say. Yeah,
I mean, you can salt the clouds. You've done that before.
That's true.
Yeah,
right?
Sample.
There he goes. So, Bob, this is a different take. Oh, there he goes with some wind, Seth. Okay.
I think that's outside of your house there, Chad, isn't it? Are you watching your neighbors blow by?
That was last week. We did have a very bad storm where I am in North Carolina. Thankfully, I'm okay. And all the podcast equipment, I had to leave the kids and pets and wife, everyone behind, and just grab the podcast equipment and ran, because this is, the thing that had to be saved. So it was much appreciated by my entire family. I walked out with one microphone.
Don't lie. I was watching El Roker. He was live on the beach. I saw they go, there's one crazy guy who's surfing out here. Look at that. I go, I know that guy. He's a Christmas cousin.
I was out there the next day, and the waves were fantastic, actually. I don't know what was floating by in the water, but so far I'm still alive. So I have good immunity built up. So so let's get into it.
All right. Then number 3
you have more.
are Bob and Seth shopping and enjoying Michigan Avenue.
Love it.
Yeah.
Holding hands.
Regardless of the season.
Okay.
We're doing that in May.
Right.
Yes. Number 2 is Bob and Seth going to the zoo lights at Lincoln Park Zoo.
Oh.
I always
that's a
forget
good one,
about
Seth.
that.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And number 1, it's Seth. It's Bob and Seth sitting on Santa's lap.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Good that we're both doing it now.
Yeah.
It's not just me.
That poor Santa. One of you on each leg. He's going to have some issues afterwards. I love that list.
A big guy.
Yeah. Seth, are you going to get any of this accomplished this year and finally meet up with Cousin Bob, have a beer? Let's hear it right now, Seth.
Absolutely.
I want to go. Hey, he's a member at Lucky Dog. Don't we get free beer if we go?
That's right.
Absolutely. There's some perks.
When are you going next?
You're not even saying that you own it, but I mean.
That's right. I know. He's one lucky dog.
Enjoying one right now.
Yeah.
What's it? Master Fortune from the new release.
This guy, always with the beer episodes. Mm-hmm. So, Seth, before we get into it, are you going to Lucky Dog soon so Bob can
Lazy Dog?
Lazy Dog. Lazy Dog. Yeah, Lazy Dog. I'm sorry.
Possibly tomorrow.
Tomorrow, which would be the 19th. Now, this will probably air after he says it, but Bob will know Thursday night, possibly. Oh my gosh, that would be great.
That's tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Bob has pickleball. Mark and I are meeting. Maybe we can both go.
Oh wow, this is amazing.
We're meeting for our. We're meeting to talk about our live show. We got it. It's scheduled.
You've got to go. Got to go. Wow.
We're inviting local celebrities, and we were hoping that Seth would be one of them.
He's the biggest there is, and he could get his friends. He could get Oprah, his neighbor Oprah, to come too. So that'll be good. Okay.
Oprah Schmopra. What
exactly? Heck? Get cousin Seth.
He always has better gifts under his seats anyway.
That's right. Exactly. Right. All right, so let's get into it, Bob, because this is a different take than how we normally do these episodes with you. They're normally wild and woolly. We're flying by the seat of our pants, kind of having the beer tastings, and they're fun. But this, we're going to do a different tone. We're going to take it back a little bit, and we are going to go into your favorite Christmas ever. Now, we've had other people on. This is the 4th in our series. Some people have had an amalgam of different Christmases and said it's several in a row, maybe ages 8 through 10 or something that were my formative Christmas years. But for you, I want to find out if there was one, if it's several together with them, or how and what, because you love Christmas. So what is it that has imbued this spirit and joy from the holiday and the whole season? So let's start from the very beginning. What year is there a specific year? What year, Bob, are we talking?
Well, I want to explain some things. So the funny thing is, in mine, I came down to 2, but my favorite Christmas was not when I was a kid.
Oh,
because when I was a kid, I mean, and this is I loved Christmas my whole life, but we had 7 kids. Christmases were very spare, and we used to hang 3 red bulbs above the door, like bells, red bells that blink on and off. That was it. We had a white flocked Christmas tree, all white. Wow. And our ornaments were we'd put a spotlight on it, and our ornaments were either all red or all blue.
Now, why was that? That's a family preference?
I don't know. My parents, they just thought it was striking, I guess, the white with the red and the blue. And then on Christmas Eve, the funny thing is that my wife thinks this is so hilarious. We we never went out to dinner or anything. So on Christmas Eve, we would go out to a smorgasbord called the Viking table. That was our Christmas Eve event.
The Viking table. Now, what is this?
It was just a Swedish smorgasbord, and I think it was a way for my parents to be able to take our big family out to dinner.
Oh my gosh.
So that was like a big event because we'd be going out to a restaurant.
And this was Christmas night or Christmas Eve?
Christmas Eve. And
Eve.
then
Okay.
And then on Christmas Day, we would, open our gifts.
Well, we're going to get there, Bob. I have to wrangle Bob, Seth. He is jumping all over this Christmas here. Now that his microphone's working.
In a pod.
Yeah. Seth, I think he's worried his internet's going to cut out, so he's just jumped from Christmas Eve to Christmas night, and I was on New Year's.
No, I just wanted to, most people, when you ask them, hey, what's your favorite Christmas? They're going to go back to something when they're small, and mine is not when I'm small. Because, and again, I don't want to sound like I'm knocking them. I'm not. It just I'm probably the only one in my family who shares the same intensity for Christmas. As, so I was a little bit like Seth and Chad, kind of like you, because when I started to date my wife, she had this big Italian family, and on Christmas Eve, we would all the cousins and everybody would get together. And it was the biggest party. It was awesome. That was incredible.
Oh, okay. So you did have a very similar experience, right? To me then, because all of a sudden it's like from a quiet little holiday to you're like, oh my gosh, there's this Feast of Seven Fishes going on. There's tons of people around. It's loud. It's everyone's laughing. Yeah.
We wouldn't eat until they wouldn't eat till midnight, eat any meat, but we had all the fish and everything. And then they also did this. And again, think about this. It's Christmas Eve night. You had to open gifts. They would start with the smallest. They had a little chair, and the kid would sit in the chair and open their gifts, and they go all the way up to grandma. We would leave and not get home until after midnight with my small kids, and then Santa had to come.
Right. And then get up at 5 a.m. when the kids woke you. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we're talking about, when you're talking your favorite Christmas ever, you're talking as an adult with kids then. So like what, is there one specific one, or do you just mean this range when your kids
No, there was one specific one.
Okay.
It was 2001.
Oh, okay.
And we had just moved into the house we live in now.
Wow, okay.
And my kids were small. And it was, I think, because we had moved from a smaller, like a ranch, into this larger, 2-story house. And we moved.
See it now, built-in podcast. It's in a state of Sethian proportions. We can see it. It's beautiful.
And we, so we were so happy to be here. Right. And then if you remember, so we moved in August. 9/11 hit in September.
Yes.
And then I was in publishing, and the company went into, we didn't go into bankruptcy, but we went up for sale. Right. So all of these things hit. It was like, I'm losing my job.
Oh my gosh.
Bought a big house, but it was Christmas time, and I can't tell you, it was the warmest.
Oh, wow.
Most fun we have, because this house is it's colonial design. So we have a giant, they call it like a keeping fireplace. Like you could actually walk into it and cook.
Oh, that style. Yes, that's amazing.
That style,
So let's just rewind a second. So you have all this, some personal turmoil going on.
Yes.
There's things going on with business and everything, but you moved into this house that your wife, you feel like maybe this is the forever home where you're going to raise your children. So no matter what's going on outside of those worlds, inside is this beautiful, magical, warm setting. And I understand that. So
it almost made it that much more special. It really did. And this was one of those homes where you pinch yourself. You never thought you'd live in a house like this. You know what I mean? It just wasn't what we'd ever thought we would have. And it was so great. And the kids were at the perfect ages. They're young. They're all believers. And my wife and she knew how Christmas was so important to me. And just went out of her way for the first Christmas in this house to decorate it to the nines. Oh my gosh. It was beautiful. Stunning.
Really? So inside and out decorate. And she did this like as a surprise when you came home, or you all did it together?
I would help her, but she did a lot of it on her own because she was kind of discovering what thing, like I said, it's a red colonial style. So she came up with this idea. We hung wreaths in all the windows, which we do to this day. But it was like I come home and all of a sudden there's a wreath in every window of the house. It was just really things like that. And then she took a lot of old Christmas albums that I collected, and a lot of those, but framed them and then hung them up all over the house, and it was great. We have the Colonel Sanders Kentucky Fried Chicken Christmas album, and some of those ones from like the '60s with the swinging trios on them and stuff.
Right. So that's amazing. I picture you. So you're pulling up at night. Now it's Chicago area. It's the suburbs.
Yeah.
It's freezing cold, right, Seth? It's dark early.
Yes.
And he's pulling up to this Rockwellian, beautiful home with the lights coming through, the fire flickering, the wreaths in the windows, and then music emanating from it. Now I'm fully in right now. This sounds amazing, especially at this point. The world's in turmoil. 9/11 just happened.
The world's
personal
in
turmoil. Yeah,
I'll tell you what's going on. The world's in turmoil. We're a publisher, right? And so we have to. The business is in trouble. We have to sell it. The bank wants us to sell it. They fired the owners. I'm the only one there at the company. Well, we had employees there, but essentially, I'm trying to call publishers in New York and sell them our company right after 9/11. It's not happening. I'm telling the banker, I go, no one's taking
it. Who's buying it, buddy? No.
Hey, we just had a fire here.
Yeah. What do you think this is? Three Floyd's printing? Shay.
Don't you watch the news? We're a little busy here.
Yeah, exactly.
Got a bridge to sell you. Or trade you, whatever.
So it's a bad time. No one's doing anything then either. And
but no one's doing anything then. But remember too, though, how the warm feelings that we were having about each other and humanity.
Yes.
I remember I came home one night, and they had said, let's have a night of mourning. I don't know if you remember, and light candles. And
yeah,
so I pull up, and there's my wife sitting out on our stoop, candles on. The kids are outside. It was just, again, another wonderful, just warm memory. So,
yes.
So you have the yin and the yang of the struggle all day and come home. And they were so excited because the house was still new, and now it was Christmas, and we decided we put up 2 trees, not 1, 2, and the kids couldn't even believe it,
Yeah, right. And how old were the kids at this point?
So let's see, they're 2.
Oh wow.
Yeah, 2, 5, and 7, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So great years,
Yeah.
Great ages.
Yeah, that's fun, right? So then there's the 2 trees. It's so Rockwellian. It's like, it's a beautiful picture there. Now, do you have pictures from this era? I'm sure you do, but it's not like today where we had cameras on every phone.
I do. And the one thing, and I'll tell you, and this is when we say some things to remember or advice to give. So in, I think, 1992, my wife gave me one of those. You ever seen those? They're Christmas memory books.
I have a vague notion of what that is.
Yeah. So basically, you open them up and they're blank pages, but they have pictures and they stuff and say guests at Christmas, favorite memories, or whatever.
Right.
She gave that book to me. I filled it out every year, filled it up for 20 years, and now I'm on the second one. So I want to remember things from in so many great memories. You just open the book, and then I've also stuck things in like the kids' letters to Santa and playbills from shows we went to, and one time the kids did like a shadow puppet play, and I have those things. So you know what I mean? It was just, and that in itself is they're great.
It would have been cool if you pulled it out for this episode.
I was going to, except I had some technical difficulties.
You did?
I did. I bet you didn't hear that, but I heard about, I did have some technical problems.
I didn't even know. We were just sitting there for 40 minutes or so, but I could hang out and chat with Cousin Seth all day, so we weren't in a rush. So, okay.
It's not like you guys talk or anything.
Exactly.
You had to catch up.
We did. Yeah. We were well caught up. We were moving on. So Seth, what do you think about it? Imagine going home to this. This is not far from where you were at this time.
Right. I said, again, given everything that was going on in the world or in the country, yeah, and to come home to this thing is completely the opposite of what that is. It's very idyllic, and yeah, it sounds incredible. I mean,
It's amazing, and this is what I love about this series is that you can feel it as we're talking about it. I can feel it in your voice, Bob. I can vicariously kind of feel it and experience it. So, okay, so the sights, sound, and smells. Let's go over that. The sights obviously was your new home. It was decorated. The family, the kids around. So the sounds would be the music playing. The kids, their cute
Running
voices like 2,
around,
5,
yeah.
and 7. What are the smells going on? Are you making special foods that you do every year?
Yeah, so my wife, usually she'll do, she was making cookies with the kids. So that
Okay.
was one thing. So
Yes.
you'd always come home to, they'd be different kinds of cookies, and they, especially for the Italian party. So all the Italian different cookies, right?
The Italian wedding cookies, right? The ones with the powder, I think that's what they're called. And the what are they? The ricotta cookies.
Yes.
My mother-in-law makes those. They're great. Yeah.
And then this was also the year, usually they pass around who makes the ravioli, because they'd make homemade ravioli. So
Okay.
my wife's cousin came over, and along with my oldest son, they made homemade ravioli. So they worked all day rolling out the dough, stuffing it, and they
Nice.
still talk about that day. You know what I mean? But it is now that everyone's older. I'm giving out a family secret. They buy frozen now, but when they were small, they made homemade ravioli, which was awesome. So I'd come home to that. You know what I mean?
That
Cookies,
is nice.
homemade
Right.
ravioli, and then usually for Christmas Eve, we would have we'd have a special dinner. We'd go to mass, and then where I live, the town I live in, we have this tradition where, and most everybody does it. We put out luminaria the night of Christmas Eve. So people will drive through the neighborhood because there's just blocks and blocks of lighted luminaria. It looks beautiful.
Seth, I see your face.
I feel like I should know what Luminari is.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, Seth. I didn't even think about that. You wouldn't know. So it's a Mexican tradition of, the idea was you would take bags and put sand in them and put candles in them. And the idea was you'd set these out as a way to lead Mary and Joseph to show the Holy Family to get to the nativity.
And it's beautiful. It looks beautiful when you see it lined up. So that was on top of it. And this was the first year in the house, same year.
Yeah. So we did luminaria. We went to mass, and then we had that year we had prime rib, and my wife wanted to do Yorkshire pudding with the prime rib, and she had never made it before. And our new oven locked. We don't know. We couldn't figure out why. And these things like blew up.
Oh no, the car exploded.
So we had these giant. They were like the size of like a cabbage.
Oh my God! Wow. Cooking and you couldn't get to them. Oh no!
That meal sounds delicious. Yeah, Yorkshire pudding is incredible, but
it was the funniest thing because we were like freaking out because she's like, the oven is locked, and we're new in the house, relatively new at that point, and we don't have any of the appliance manuals or anything. We have no idea why it locked, and I don't think it did that again. It was just one of those things like the oven locked on Christmas Eve, and we couldn't figure out how to.
And that's it. Never since then. Not again. Oh my gosh, it's funny. So okay, so let's get to the morning of. So now you've gone to sleep. It's Christmas Eve, and we'll touch back on that. But first thing you remember when you wake up. Now you're not a kid. Everybody else that we've interviewed, they've done it when they were a child. So it wasn't like you were going to wake up your parents. Were the kids waking you? Did you wake up first? You're like, I can't believe I'm in this house. I can't believe it's Christmas. Tell us the first thing when you wake up. What's going on?
All right. Can I just tell you one thing about Christmas Eve, though, I wanted to say, because this is another nice tradition, especially if people have small kids right now. And it just by happenstance has happened. When my son, his first Christmas, I got him the book, the picture book, The Littlest Angel. and we wrote a message in it, right? And then the next year we decided to get him another book. So anyway, fast forward, we have every year, even if they're grown up, we get them a Christmas picture book to write a story in, or write a message, Christmas message. So again, they have these books now. My oldest his wife is pregnant and due in December. And we've always said that we were going to, once they have kids, give them all their books, and they document their whole lives. You know what I mean? They talk about everything they were doing at that time from when they were like 1 up till, so that's another thing that we're so blessed that we started doing it and just kept doing it for all of them.
That is so, and that's amazing too, because now everybody documents their lives with social media, but to do it back then and to do it in this manner is
they do it, and it's like a concrete thing, so it's not going to go away. You're not going to lose the pictures or whatever. They have a book that they can read to their kid, but they can also read the message to them. And that the books we would give out on Christmas Eve, like where they sat at the dinner table, there'd be a book. And it was so funny because as they got to be older, they'd be like, "Oh, can we have our books?" Like, yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah. So kids will love that, like going through that as they get older.
Yes, I think now that they do, they appreciate it, and now it's much better. And you try to always connect it to something in their life, like I remember one of my sons went to medical school. There was a medical school one book or about a doctor, you know what I mean? And there's one, my daughter had a dog, and we got one about a dog. So anyway, so that was nice. And then Christmas morning, the one thing that I always did, so Santa would come and everyone would go to sleep. And then, and I don't know how other people ever managed this, but back then Santa for additional Santa would come. That would be, and there would be presents for my wife and surprises for the kids and all that. So that Santa had to come after. So like we get home late from the party, then the kids are all in bed. Santa comes, then my wife goes to sleep, and then this Santa has to either stay up until 3 or get up at 4 a.m. and start wrapping presents.
Because you opened presents Christmas Eve at your in-laws' house, and then again Christmas morning. So somehow in between, you had to play Santa. Well, Santa came.
And then additional Santa came, and that was the burden was on me, and because I would never, with work and all that, I never ever got around to wrapping gifts. So I would be doing it Christmas Eve night in the middle of the night, and I always say, "Oh my God, I got to figure out a better way to do this." Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, can I go to the mall and just pay all those people just to wrap all my presents? Yeah.
How did you function the next day? Because what time are you getting up on Christmas?
Well, yeah. Morning? So that was always the fun. Kids would come in at 5:30, 5 in the morning. They're like, you're like, no. That's what Seth. I was teasing you last year. Like I wanted to hire some kids to come running in and jump on your bed like they do, and just go, "Come on, get up, Santa's here, Santa came," and you're like, "Oh, just one more hour, please, one more hour."
Yeah, true.
I should, Seth, leave your phone on this Christmas. I'm going to call you.
Yeah. No, this year we're hiring child actors to go running in and jump on his bed and say, "Get up, get up."
Yeah, I like that idea. Okay. And a ton of puppies and animals, just everything, just flowing in, full experience. Okay, so then you wait. So who wakes you up then in the morning? Is it one of your kids in particular? All 3 kids come running in?
All 3, because they've been waiting, and finally they're like, "Let's go wake them up." So they all wake us up. And, it's always, and I'm sure you heard this from others too, you've asked about, there's always like a routine to, a funny one to the kid, like, "Well, I have to go down and get the camera ready." Back then, get the video camera ready and all that. And you'd go down there and go, "Well, I don't think Santa's come yet."
Right.
Stuff like that. Or else you go, "Oh, I have to turn the coffee on. We have to wait for the coffee to finish." And, just drive them crazy.
Right. Yeah, I know the kids, right? Making the coffee is like the longest wait ever at that point. So now it's Christmas morning. You're all awake. So what are the special traditions? It is interesting that we're doing it with you as the perspective of a father with young children as opposed to a child with the parents like everybody else has done. Leave it to you, Bob, to flip things completely upside down for this. So what were the traditions on Christmas morning? Because now you're setting them. Were they followed from what you did as a child, from what your wife did as a child?
That's, and not what I did as a child now, because when I was a kid, everybody just opened their gifts. You know what I mean? You just ripped them open, right?
Right.
You know, and we were definitely a wrap family, and we are a wrap family too. You know, some people Santa's gifts aren't wrapped, but ours always were. All the gifts are. So the difference here is that, and I think this is from my wife's family. You know, like you go youngest to oldest, one gift each. So my daughter, then my son, and then my son. And then they'd open their stockings first, and what would be in the stocking. And I think when the kids were small, I didn't do this, but the older they got, you know, you put lottery tickets in. Yeah. And I remember one time my daughter, who was in college at the time, and you know, starving college student, and then my son who was out, and then the other son were out of college by that point. One wins $500, one wins $250, and she wins nothing. And she's just like, I'm the college student, you know. So,
did you guys hear about the story this year where someone gave them a Christmas lottery ticket? The person just put it aside till like March and then decided to check the numbers. And it was like, I forget what it was, but it was like $1 million or $5 million or something. And it was just sitting there. So it's actually won.
Could have easily been thrown out, you know, with the wrapping paper, you know.
Yeah, that's what Seth would do. I'm not scratching this off. It's only $5 million. No big deal.
Getting that under my nails.
Yeah, exactly. Not for $5 million. So, okay. So then so finally you gather around the tree, right? Everyone's gathered around. You're going turn by turn. So what were the big gifts that year?
Let's see. I think at that point was my sons got, that was the first year we were in the house, got Nintendo. I think it was a GameCube then at that time.
Okay.
Yeah. So they were completely freaking out. Now my daughter was young. I think back that one, that's what I wanted to check on. I think it was American Girl doll was the thing to get. But the funny thing about her, and it sounds goofy to tell people outside the family you have to be there, but when she was really, really small, I used to travel, and for some reason she would call me on my cell phone all the time. My wife didn't even know, and she'd leave me these messages, and she'd say, Dad, there's a skunk in your bed. I don't know where that came from. So it's become this joke, like every year she gets some kind of a skunk gift. Even now.
Oh, that's really funny. That's fun.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's that kind of stuff that's just so fun. And at the time it seems meaningless, but you look back and like, oh, this is adorable. This is amazing, because that version of the child is not there anymore. They're now an adult, and they wouldn't just call and do that. So,
and we have, and you know, I mean, and this is part of being the Yulephile that I am. I mean, my wife will say I get to be a bit like a commandant for the Christmas commandant, you know, because, you know, I have all of these traditions. So the other thing too, on Christmas Eve is I would usually make a game, and we always played a game, you know, like, and it would involve stuff about them and Christmas and, you know, the Christmas shows and movies and stuff like that. So it's so funny because my kids are so well versed that we've had our Christmas trivia team now here in Chicago. We've won 2 years in a row now.
Oh my gosh.
And we go to different places just because we're like, we need a challenge, you know. So
his travel around.
They see you guys coming. There's cousin Bob and his family. We're out of here as a ringer. Forget it. There they are. Oh my gosh, it's funny, right? Yeah, so you guys do that now. We can go into your modern day Christmas. That'd be a nice follow-up to see what you do, because it sounds like, I know you do things all season long. You just raffled off 5 things you're going to do with Seth this year.
I know. And that's just in December. Just think of the things we're going to do in the build up to December, like in November, Seth.
I can see you two watching, like weeping together, watching a festive foreign film, perhaps. Maybe that could happen.
No, I think he admitted he doesn't like subtitles. I think he said that at one point.
No, he said he couldn't read subtitles. He likes them.
Yes.
The other fun thing that happened years later was we discovered on Christmas Eve, because my wife's family moved her party, because the bigger the family got, you really couldn't do it on Christmas Eve any longer, you know, to go on all night. So they moved it to the Saturday before Christmas Eve.
Okay.
And we were always home on Christmas Eve, And we realized there were two families that we were friends with, the kids and the parents were friends with, that we were all by ourselves on Christmas Eve. So we started getting together, and then we started having, we had a Christmas party, and I would do the game, and everyone would do it. But then we started to make them themed. And we made them like fun. The craziest theme you could think of. So we had redneck Christmas, we had dysfunctional family Christmas, we had man cave Christmas, we had international. And I tell you, it was so, those memories also are awesome. We had such a great time with it. Now what's happened is the families have since moved, and we tried it on Zoom. Yeah, it doesn't work in it,
Nah, right, because then you're also, somebody has to be stuck with the computer going on. Yeah, it's just different. So that's nice because you took something that was the wah sad and made it like a fun party. I love that. Okay, and how was you? But that was not this same year. This wasn't your first year.
I'm jumping ahead. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It's kind of like when I started to think of all the things and that I'd love to share. Like some of the things we did, and those. What I loved about those parties is because they probably started when the kids were maybe junior high, high school, but they all got into it. Like the year that we did dysfunctional family, one girl came like she just got out of the addiction mental hospital, and she had like a gown on, and someone was like the crazy uncle, and the worst family stereotypes you can think of. Everybody was playing them. It was so funny.
This is a wild one. So I just changed the banner to read Bob's favorite Christmases ever. So so we're now multiple. So we're 2001 through 2024, and someone just arrived from the asylum.
Yeah. And oh my gosh, goodness, it was so fun.
So the memorable gifts? Was there anything that was given to you as the father that year that you remember that sticks with you?
I'm such a difficult person because I love everything. So the only I can tell you, and now I'm glad you changed the thing, because this was not 2001. This was 2020 COVID.
Okay.
So my daughter knew how much I loved Christmas.
Okay.
And she knew it was not going to be that we couldn't do all the things that we did for Christmas and all that. So she reached out and contacted all of my friends, family, people I worked with, and asked them to write a letter because they knew like I was going to miss Christmas.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh. So Christmas morning, we open all our gifts and all that. And then she's like, and I didn't realize she hadn't given me a gift. And she's like, oh, Dad, wait, here's this mailbox here. And she pulls out this big Santa plastic mailbox that lights up.
Oh my gosh.
And inside were all of these letters. And I tell you, I was not dry-eyed. It was,
wow.
It was so incredible. And just the thought, she was so thoughtful to do that. And all the things that people wrote who knew me and knew how much I liked Christmas. It was really so touching. So that is the one gift that's really nice. Wow. And you had no idea. Oh, I had no idea. No idea. And I've since taken all those letters, put them in an album, that I have that I can pull out. Again, it's with those other Christmas books I can pull out and look at anytime to make me feel better.
You know what's cool, Bob? I didn't tell you, but ahead of this episode, your family sent actual audio they recorded from when you got the gift. So I have it here. Listen. What do you think?
That's me. That's me. In fact, that's probably after I calmed down a little bit.
That's right. That is really cool. That's very nice of her. And that's awesome that everybody, contribute. And it was a complete shock. That's very cool.
It was incredible.
Seth, if we were more of a sincere show, I wouldn't have played the sound effect and made a joke out of the lovely moment.
Right.
That's what we do. That's why we're the Christmas cousin.
Chad, I would expect nothing less.
Yes, we didn't let you down.
Treat me like every other guest.
Exactly.
Any other show you would got some nice instrumental music underneath.
Seth, here he gets a bagpipe and that's it.
Exactly.
It can act like a man.
Hear about your problems. Don't care.
Oh, that's funny. So okay, so then
Like,
that was your
Shut
favorite
up,
gift.
pansy boy. Shut up.
The Godfather. You can act like a man. That's it, though. So that was a memorable gift you had on 2020. Okay, so what did you, we'll go back to somewhere around that year, 01, or any year. What do you do after all the gifts are given out then? During this gift-giving frenzy all morning, all the kids had their gifts. Now you have the rest of Christmas Day ahead of you. What do you do with that?
So back then, what we would do is we would go to my in-laws' house and we'd have dinner there. And then we would go to my grandmother's house at night.
Oh, wow.
And so we'd see both sides of the family. I know it was right. And the older, like when the kids were little, we could do that. But then the older they got, they didn't really want to be traveling around. So we kind of would see them after, not on Christmas Day. But back then at that moment, so we would Christmas, breakfast. We had gone to church the night before, so we didn't have to worry about church. We'd get ready and then we'd go over to in-laws' house for dinner, and then they would have presents for the kids, and then we'd go to my grandmother's house.
Wow.
And so it was a pretty
busy
day.
Yeah.
Did
And
you
then
generally have off the day after? Did you take that whole week off?
Back in when I was working for the law firm, and that ended in 2000, I would be working like Christmas Eve and the day after Christmas. Then when I went over to the corporate side, usually I would usually take the day after Christmas off, because you get home late, and we always used to love the day after, like what would be Boxing Day,
right?
Because you just lay around the house, in your pajamas, eat leftovers, the kids playing with their games, just relaxing. And
it's like Christmas without any of the stress, any pressure, rather.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's nice. That's actually really nice knowing that's there. So, okay.
And then when I've worked for two different companies that were manufacturing companies, and they'd shut down for the whole week between Christmas and New Year's, which was awesome. That was really great.
Yeah, everyone should do that. I mean, your employees need a little break there. And I know Seth, he almost gave some of his staff off like an hour or two Christmas week.
Go, call your families. Do FaceTime with them.
Didn't you allow them extra time to call, Seth, like an extra 5 minutes or something?
Yeah, so I rounded out. I made it a half hour.
I think I thought Seth just said, "Hey, stop working, open my presents for me, and then you can go back working."
That's right.
We're calling a family here.
They like the old time where Seth would just stare at the wall. Although that's kind of what you did, Seth, this past Christmas, but not this Christmas when you're going to be at Mrs. X's. But that's a whole other thing. The whole winter is going to be just unpacking this big one. So,
hey, Chad, though, we have to have a special episode on our prepping Seth for a real Christmas party with a family. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
We'll give them
round
tips. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Some good small talk ideas.
Yeah. Even etiquette, like which fork to grab.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. No, that's a good idea. What do I come? What do I bring with me? Like, obviously you don't want to come empty-handed. Do I bring gifts for everybody, certain people?
Yeah, that's good. We could do, and we could do it live. Because we before Seth's like first date with Mrs. X, we did an Instagram live, and people were live chiming in, giving him wardrobe tips, what to wear, and I think it actually helped pick his outfit, and it was really fun, actually. Yeah, we had a lot of people into it.
We got to do that because the thing is that these are actual human beings and not domestics, so you're going to have to try to engage in conversation with them.
Right, you can't just
unusual.
Right.
Yeah. You can't just keep telling him to get things for you.
He's got a lot to learn.
Be able to control everything in my world.
And you can't. Yeah, that's good. I like that idea. Okay, so.
But yeah, it is. I mean, I'm gonna have to. I'm going into someone's home that I know, but yeah, I don't know their traditions with Christmas and what they do, and so yeah, I'm gonna have to kind of learn on the fly.
You may have to have Bob like a Cyrano de Bergerac kind of thing, like with an earpiece helping
He's outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't refer to grandma as crazy old lady.
Again.
Yeah.
Get away with it once.
Who's the old bat in the corner?
I like that. Yeah. And do not ring a bell at anyone to bring you more eggnog or whatever. So that's not good either. So, okay.
Nice
You people
clap.
call these gifts?
Yeah, don't say like things like if it's not Tiffany blue, I'm not opening it, Seth. That's
Yeah.
crass. Okay. You just outside the bubble, he may not make it, Bob. That's a
Right.
very good point.
Yeah.
We're
Oh, your
do a lot.
child made that. Great. Nobody wants that.
Yeah, nobody.
I assure you.
Picasso doesn't have to worry. What is this?
Right.
I'm supposed to eat this glued macaroni or what?
Exactly.
Here he is with his bell. Yeah. Okay, Seth. There he
You
goes.
know, foie de gras.
What were you saying, Seth?
Oh, nothing.
Nothing. Okay. That's a good. We're definitely going to do that. So let's just. We're getting towards the end. So now, what was playing? Were there any just really quickly favorite holiday movies or songs during that time period, or that you use every Christmas? That's like a must because I know my wife's family always had the Johnny Mathis Christmas album, and to this day she enjoys listening to that. What about on your end?
So, from a movie perspective, and this probably doesn't surprise you knowing from last year, but we always watched on Christmas Day night when we get home is It's a Wonderful
Life. Yes.
We always would watch It's a Wonderful Life. From a music perspective, I was one of these crazy people that I would do like a different kind of put together a different playlist every year. So
yes, you've done that for me. You did a tropical Christmas playlist, which I can't wait to go back on. Yes, and thank you.
But the big one, I'll tell you, we were huge Killers fans, so we loved all the Killers Christmas songs. Okay. So those, I think my kids would probably say, "Oh yeah, we would play those all the time." The Killers Christmas songs. What's funny about when we talk about as a kid, the only thing I remember that my parents would play is and it's so stupid now when I think about it, the Sal Soul Orchestra. I don't know if you've ever heard it. It was kind of almost like disco Christmas music. It was the ridiculous, and they played it all the time. And it was
really.
So I found a CD one time at a discount, like a bargain bin, and it was from Sal Soul. And I played, and it brought everything back right away. So yeah, if you want to laugh, pull up the Sal Soul Christmas. But
what do you think it was? Why they liked that album? Or
I think mom liked it. I have no idea why. Because they were more like traditional people. Like I could see like Johnny Mathis or something, but for some reason we always played. But it was I'm probably remembering that, I don't know, 75, 6, 7, 8 era, where it's disco type music, and that's what they're playing. But
you can almost hear it. It's so.
But hey, Chad, does your wife? Because Leslie is Italian, right?
Yes.
She's Italian. Yeah. So did they play Dominic the Donkey? Like, oh, my wife's family, they think that's hilarious.
Yeah. Well, mainly you're going to hear, your Frank Sinatra, your Dean Martin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So,
but Dominic was like the joke.
Yes, exactly.
Yes,
yeah. I've been married for 23 years. I'm still scared to ask the family if they like it or if they think it's funny or making fun of them. So I don't bring it up at all. So, but it's an interesting one. It's mainly the traditional stuff that we'll do. And I make sure on my kids, we're doing gifts one at a time. We're listening to this traditional music, no disco, not at all. Seth, this was it. So they went from that to crying and disco. That's what we're learning. It's an overarching theme here.
Hey, well, what are you going to do now with your kids though? Now that Seth he's opening a hot cocoa room, isn't he? He's taking your bar and making it a whole like a place, right?
A wing, a hot cocoa wing.
It's the hot cocoa guest house. Come on.
That's right. The
house franchising opportunity soon.
It was very cool. My daughter texted from school today, so she must be getting in the spirit. She said, "Hey, Dad, I want some hot cocoa." So nice. I said, "Oh, okay. I know where we have some packs, and I'll bring it out." And then I sent her a picture of the hot cocoa bar, and she's like, "I don't want to see that yet. I miss it. I can't wait for it." I was like, "Oh, that's awesome." So when she came home,
great.
I made her a nice cup of hot cocoa. Even though it was like 83 degrees out, I made her a nice cup of hot cocoa. So that was cool. So she's excited for the hot cocoa bar. which I hope everybody does and sends their pictures in at Christmas Cousins Pod or christmascousinspod@gmail.com. Heck, send it to @FestiveFans on Instagram and Bob will forward it over. So that's the hot cocoa bar. If you don't know, it's a world famous.
Hey, you may have inspired me. Maybe I'll do one. Maybe I'll use the tiki bar and make it an
adult hot cocoa bar. Someone did suggest that last year. It sounds like fun, actually. Seth, can you trademark world famous hot cocoa bar real fast? And get a kit together so we could just, send it out right there. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, and you know what, Seth, one of the things, and this is serious, I've really thought about doing this, and I really thought last year and I didn't do it, but I want to do it this year, is thrifting at like you were talking about, like I was going to go to antique stores and stuff and look at the old, Christmas stuff that they have. Now, see, my wife's like, we don't need any more stuff. We don't.
You find great stuff though. It is fun.
I know. I want to do it. And I go by, especially downtown, you see these great places. And I know, like you're saying, you go in every single one and there's always Christmas stuff in there.
Always.
Really
Anytime of the year. Yeah. For like $1, you can get a whole set of plates and glasses. It's crazy. I love that. That's fun. Okay.
Yeah. All these places, estate sales. Right?
So that's
have history too.
That'll be number 6 then. That'll be number 6 what we do.
Yeah.
You guys better start early. So we're getting down to where it winds down. So you said the evening, we already kind of got into that, but where you'd go to dinner with family and then grandparents. So what about the very last bit of the evening? Now we all know the scene from It's a Christmas Story where they're sitting down with a glass of wine. The day is finally done and wound down. Is there anything you did after you got back, or you just exhausted at that point and done, or were you like still having drinks and you were like still partying? There's Bob right there.
That was me. Oh.
You're still charged up.
That's the whole night right there. That's the day all encapsulated right
That's
there.
Right, exactly. We had a fireplace, we had crying, we had disco, and then Bob at the end of the
night. No, you know what the end of the night always was? It was we'd get home. It was late because we came home from my grandma's, probably be like 10 o'clock or whatever, and we put It's a Wonderful Life on, and routinely all of us would fall asleep watching it.
Right. In like 2 minutes.
But what a way to end the night. It was, our favorite movie. We're all together. We're all kind of just relaxing, and boom.
That is nice. Yeah. But Seth, to this day, he's never seen the ending.
Yeah.
He doesn't know if he makes it or not. So don't spoil it for him, Seth.
Like, what a horrible Christmas movie. This guy just jumps off a bridge and
exactly.
Right, that's it.
Number 7, you two should go see that together live at that immersive event.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. There's number 7. So, okay, so let's just a couple more questions and we're done. Yeah. So, in hindsight, I know why this was so memorable for you. Did this influence, it seems like it clearly did, shape your future holiday traditions? It seems like it did set the tone for how you raised your kids and did Christmas with them every year. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I would say what happened that year was kind of when we set the baseline for our Christmases, right?
Right.
So I think my wife really went out of her way to try to make it special. And in doing so, we still have the 2 trees. We still put up many of the same decorations that we used that year. We probably don't do as much as we did that year, but that was it. That was what started it all, I would say.
Right. Oh, that's okay. Right. So that would make sense. So, okay, 2 more questions. Here we go. If you could relive one moment from that magical Christmas, what would it be?
My favorite part is when the kids get you up in the morning and to take them down for Santa. They're so excited, so over the top.
Right.
And there's nothing better than that. You know what I mean? You just feel you feel great.
And when you love Christmas, you're like, one day I want to experience it again through a child's eyes, your own child's eyes, and share it with them, and to see them so excited is very rewarding. Yep. I know. Awesome. That is that. Okay. That makes sense. So here's our last question of the night. What advice do you have for our listeners, especially our beloved festive freshman cousin Seth, seasonal sophomore, to make his own holidays as unforgettable as yours, or our listeners to make your own holidays as unforgettable as this one? What is your advice?
So, as you have seen, I mean, I have a number of traditions that I do every year. And
Yes.
what I find oftentimes is, it's true of all of us. We get busy, especially around Christmas time and the stress and all that. And it's so easy to start something and then drop it after a year or two or whatever.
Right.
If you force yourself, like I can remember because I would commute into the city on the train and it would be after Christmas. I'd force myself to record in that book all the things that happened, and I had to think of what were all the happy memories and all that. Well,
Oh, that's nice.
now I can go back and go, oh my gosh, remember in 2003 when this happened and that happened? Because you don't remember it all, but the minute you read it, it all comes rushing back. It really
Yes.
does.
Yes. It reconnects with that memory. And how do you feel with that? Because nostalgia often comes with a sense of longing and
Yeah.
sometimes pain associated with it, or does it just make you so happy to relive the memory?
I would say there was a point in my life, Chad. You're right. I remember I got kind of anxious, like, oh, I'm getting old. The kids are getting old. You know what I mean? Life is
Right.
passing so fast and all that. I've passed through that phase. Now I'm kind of like, you know what? I look back and I'm so I remembering all of those things are so fun. And I'll tell you, because each year I'm trying to think of, okay, what's happening this year that I'm going to mark down or whatever. So you kind of register it in your head. You're like, that's a great moment. We got to make sure we record that one, So you're
Right.
constantly recognizing special moments each year. And I'll tell you, I mean, I loved when the kids were small, really
Mhm.
small, but every phase has its benefits, right? And
Right.
now they're like adults and we have adult fun, right?
Right.
But
Right. And so-
but I'll tell you. So a couple of years ago, we went to the pumpkin farm. The kids that we used to go as a kids. The kids were like, "Hey, let's all go out to the pumpkin farm." So we went as adults and had the best time. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
that's awesome.
And
Yeah.
so you can do stuff like that. And I'll tell you another thing we do every year. We have a Christmas outing, and Mark has one as well. And
Oh, nice.
that was one of the things when we first met each other. We I don't know, we started talking about it, but it's one of these things where I try to pick something different every year, and I don't tell the family, and they don't know until we go what it's going to be. And we've done
Oh, wow.
so many fun because you're constantly always trying to think of something different, right? So yeah,
Right. Wow.
that's another good
This
one.
is great. Right. So set your traditions, live in the moment, mark the memories, and keep these traditions going too. That's what I'm learning. And these are fantastic. You could write a book on all these things, how to make your Christmas the most magical ever. I love this. This is inspiring. Seth, you look overwhelmed.
No, it's great. There's a lot. It's a great story. It's interesting hearing all of it.
Poor Seth is like, God, all these things I got to catch up on.
Seriously.
I got a lifetime to go.
Start with disco, Seth.
For an all
Start with the Salsoul Orchestra.
That's
from
right.
now until December.
But yeah, you were talking, Bob. You're talking about these different phases, experiencing Christmas in these different phases, and as you're a child, then you have different memories with your own kids and stuff, and you're on the verge of becoming a grandfather. Not to date or anything, but I mean that's going to be another phase. And
yeah,
your video went out. I can't tell if you're crying yet, but that's going to be a really heartfelt thing for you.
He's crying again. Oh, someone put the disco on.
There we go.
No, it's really cool
dancing.
just to be able to enjoy it in all those different ways, and
now do it again, relive it again with his grandchildren and his kids. So it's awesome. So in other words, what you're saying is it keeps getting better. Each year has its own special memories, but that one year you really set the tone and your baseline for everything, and that is beautiful. And I love doing this because I hope you did too, Seth, and I hope everybody listening. I relive it with you. We can hear it in your voice. We can kind of just vicariously be there. And I love that about this series. And it's a little different than the other shows we do. And I just love hearing how they got to be that, people's versions of what's their best Christmas and why, and what we can all take from it ourselves. And also for you, Bob, to be able to relive it and share it. And this will be fun for your whole family to listen to, not only to boost our listenership, which is my main goal, but for them also to really appreciate the effort and love that you're putting in too. So
And luckily, I come from a big family, so we'll boost your
great.
numbers.
Well, this is going to be great. Yes, that's right. But Bob, thank you so much. And for everybody listening, you want to hear more about these great Christmas traditions and even some festive foreign films that Bob reviews with his co-host Mark, the elusive Mark, who we finally got to meet. You can listen to him on Festive Foreign Film Fans. That's the 4F, as the cool kids are calling it, as I said. And they're at Festive Fans on Instagram, I guess on Facebook and everything else. And cousin Seth can be found swimming amongst his pool of gold coins. If you want to reach out to us what are we, Seth? At Christmas Cousins Pod and Christmas Cousins Pod at gmail.com on Instagram and Facebook. So check out Bob's show. It is wonderful. I listen. They do 2 episodes a month, slackers, but I listen to every one and I love it. And it's really good. So listen, whether you're going to watch the movie or not, their banter and their love of Christmas is really enjoyable all year long. So thank you for keeping that, Bob.
Yeah, you do 1 episode a day, right?
Yes, exactly. We do more. We just don't air them all.
Yeah.
Sometimes throughout the day.
You just play them for each other.
Exactly. That's it. And we do have a ton more coming up. I didn't tell Seth we're going to start doing one every quarter day. We're doing day segments, morning show, afternoon. So it's all part of the plan, Seth. You're good. So Bob, thank you so much. I know this is long.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. I will get this
you,
figured out at some point. My technical issues.
I bet by New Year's, once this is over, it'll be crystal clear. Thank you, Bob, and we will see you soon and have you back on soon. And hopefully you and Seth meet up in person.
Yes, we will, in our Christmas disco outfits.
I love that.
They're designing something.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Seth. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Bob.
Here's our dancing.
There you go.